Picture this. It's late at night. Maybe you're just running a quick errand on a motorbike, something simple like grabbing drink.
Yeah, totally ordinary.
But then that simple trip suddenly spirals into a whole series of just terrifying, completely unexplained events. We're heading to Surat Thani in Thailand for this story today.
And this one, it's different because our source isn't like a news report or study. It's a personal account, someone's firsthand experience of something really chilling.
Exactly. So our mission here is to walk through this really harrowing experience, just as it was told by the person it happened to. We'll call her Kunmi, like in the source material.
And we're not just looking at the fear, which is intense, but also the explanations offered within her story. It gets into traditional beliefs, spiritual forces, that kind of thing.
It's quite a journey. It starts with some scares out on a dark road, but then it takes this really surprising turn, ends up much, much closer to home than she ever expected.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does it begin?
Right. So it starts one evening back in August. Kunmi is over at her friend's place, P. Duan. They've had dinner, just hanging out. And around 8 p.m., they realize they're out of drinks.
It happens all the time. So Kunmi and P. Duan decide, okay, let's hop on the motorbike and go get some more.
P. Duan's driving, Kunmi's riding on the back. They try a shop nearby first, but it's closed.
Right. So they have to take a longer route to another shop.
And this route, this is important. It's a path Kunmi really, really dislikes. There's this specific spot, a curve with a tree.
Ah, the tree.
Yeah, where a really bad car accident happened before, a fatal one. Car hit that tree. Kunmi had actually seen the aftermath herself, and it terrified her. She avoids that road normally, especially after dark.
But tonight, it's the only option. So P. Duan's riding maybe a bit fast as they come up to this curve near that specific tree. Kunmi is just trying to look straight ahead, not look at the spot.
But right after they pass the tree, something happens. A dog just bursts out from the side, looks really aggressive, like it's going to run right in front of them.
Okay, scary enough on its own.
Totally. P. Duan reacts instantly, hits the brakes hard, slows them way down.
But the dog, it doesn't actually run onto the road?
No, it just stays there, near the edge. But here's the crazy part. In that exact moment, they slowed down. Right where they would have been if they hadn't braked. This huge tree branch just snaps off, crashes down. Right onto the road.
Whoa, no way.
Yes. And the account, it specifically mentions, right, there wasn't even strong wind.
Which just makes the timing, so strange.
Incredible timing. They swerve, just barely avoiding being hit by this massive branch. P. Duan stops the bike. They're just staring at it, blocking the road, completely shaken.
I bet.
P. Duan's terrified, basically says, let's just get the drinks fast and get home even faster.
They must have realized how close they came if they hadn't slowed for that dog.
They would have been right under it, crushed. A really, really narrow escape.
Wow. Okay, so adrenaline pumping, they race to the shop.
Yeah, grab what they need super quick, takes just a few minutes, and head straight back, the same way they came. As they get near the spot where the branch fell.
They're expecting to see it still there, right?
Yeah.
Blocking the road.
Exactly. But it's gone.
Right. Completely gone?
Completely vanished. Kunmi is just baffled. Asks P. Duan, where did it go? P.M.'s like, maybe someone moved it?
But Kunmi thought about it. That branch was huge.
Right. It seemed way too big for someone to just clear it away that quickly, especially late at night on that road.
Yeah.
She just couldn't figure out how it disappeared so fast. It made no sense.
Okay, that's weird enough. But the strangeness wasn't over yet.
Not even close. As they kept going, rounded that same curve again near the accident tree.
Yeah.
Kunmi saw something else.
Oh boy. What now?
She described it as like a white mass, or maybe a ball of white light. It just shot out from behind the tree.
Shot out towards them.
Directly towards them. Rushed right at the bike.
And then
just gone. Disappeared.
Okay, now, did P. Duan see this too? Or just Kunmi?
No, that's the thing. P. Duan saw it too. They both saw it. They were absolutely terrified, almost lost control of the bike again.
Wow. Both of them seeing the same thing. That changes things.
Definitely. They were just completely confused, scared.
Yeah.
P. Duan immediately says something like, we really need to start wearing protective amulets after this.
I don't blame her.
And they just booked it home. No more delays.
So think about that journey for a moment, yo. Just a simple errand turns into, first, this near-death experience with the branch appearing out of nowhere.
And disappearing just as mysteriously.
Right. And then the shared sighting of a strange white light attacking them near a known accident spot. It feels targeted somehow, or like they narrowly avoided something unseen twice.
It's incredibly unsettling. And it doesn't end there. When Kunmi finally got back to her own house after dropping Piduan off, she immediately felt wrong.
Wrong.
Just unwell. Shaky, really restless, couldn't settle down, just felt off.
Okay.
She finds her family there, her dad, her mom, and a worker they mention, Pecan again. She sits down and just starts telling them everything that happened on the bike trip.
The dog, the branch appearing, the branch disappearing, the white light.
Yeah, the whole sequence. But here's where it gets really dramatic. As she's finishing the story, something just takes over. She suddenly starts shaking.
Yeah.
And crying. Like uncontrollably crying and trembling all over.
Whoa. Just like that. Yeah. While telling the story.
Exactly. And her parents, they told her later, her whole demeanor changed. Her eyes looked furious, angry. She was staring intently at everyone like she was enraged.
That sounds terrifying.
And then the worker, P. Conningham, he sees something, just for a second.
What did he see?
He saw a large man with a dark purple face standing right behind Kunmi. And then it vanished.
A purple-faced man. Wow, okay.
What did he do? He reacted immediately. Seeing that, he rushed off to get a Buddhist amulet.
Smart move, probably.
So he comes back, places the amulet on Kunmi, and as he does, she has her own terrifying vision.
Oh no, what did she see?
She saw a little girl in torn, ragged clothes with a damaged face standing right on her feet, like holding her down.
Ah, that's horrifying, standing on her feet.
Yeah, and seeing this, Kunmi just lets out this loud scream.
I can only imagine. So from the family's view, she's crying, screaming, shaking, looking enraged, now screaming from a vision.
Yeah, acting completely unlike herself. They're seeing someone in absolute profound distress, and they're thinking, maybe this is possession. Pikau.
Understandable reaction, given everything.
Her father looks at her state and just makes a call. This is too serious, too dangerous to handle at home. He's afraid she won't make it through the night.
So what's the plan?
Despite how late it is, he decides they have to get her to a temple immediately for help from a monk.
Okay, but getting her there, if she's like that.
It was a massive struggle. The account says her dad had to get like 4 or 5 workers to help physically restrain her just to get her onto the back of a pickup truck.
Oh, man.
And she describes being aware. Like, she knew what was happening, but she couldn't control her own body. She was fighting them violently, even trying to jump out of the moving truck.
That's intense. They must have had to hold her down with serious force.
Absolutely. The men were apparently exhausted by the time they finally reached the temple.
Had they called ahead? Did the temple know they were coming?
Yeah, her father had called the venerable monk, Longpor, to let him know they were on their way. So when they arrive, Longpor sees her condition immediately.
And what does he say?
His first words are pretty striking. He looks at her state and asks, "Why are you staying with him?"
Wow, implying there's an entity right then and there.
Exactly. But she couldn't respond, of course. Just crying, making noise, still in that state.
So what did Luangpor do?
He saw how bad it was and started a spiritual ceremony right away. Began chanting prayers. At one point, he took a knife, a ritual knife, and placed it on the crown of her head.
A knife on her head?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it work?
It seemed to. After the ritual, her state started to calm down quite a bit. She became sort of semi-conscious, coming out of that really intense, uncontrollable phase.
That's a relief.
Yeah. And while she was kind of drowsy, she could faintly hear the monk talking to her dad about what was going on, but she couldn't really grasp the details.
Understandable. Then what?
Her father drove her back home. She actually fell asleep on the way back.
And when she woke up at home?
She felt a lot better. The shaking, the crying, all that extreme stuff had subsided. She felt like, okay, maybe this is over.
Did she ask her dad what happened about being possessed?
She did. She asked him, was I possessed?
Yeah.
He kind of deferred the full explanation, said they'd talk tomorrow, but he was firm. Wear the amulet Pecan Ningen gave you. Don't take it off.
Okay, so she keeps the amulet on. How was the night?
She slept with it on. And thankfully, no more strange events, no weird dreams, just slept.
And the next morning?
She woke up feeling completely normal, energetic, clear-headed, like nothing had happened. Her family saw her and thought, okay, great, she's fully recovered. It worked.
Phew, that sounds like the end of it. But I have a feeling it's not.
You're right. Here's the twist. That recovery, it was only temporary.
Oh no!
As the sun started to set the very next evening, the symptoms came back.
The shaking and crying.
Yes. And according to the account, this time it was even worse. And crucially, during this relapse, she had zero awareness of her actions, completely out of it.
What did others say she was doing?
They described her acting like a child, talking incoherently, crying and shaking violently again, just completely not herself.
So back to the temple.
Immediately, her father recognized it instantly, rushed her right back to Luangpur.
And did the monk do the same ritual?
Yes, same ritual again. And this time he also gave her holy water to bathe with.
Okay, holy water baths. Did that work?
Well, they had to keep doing it. They returned to the temple for these holy water baths for 3 days straight.
3 consecutive days.
Right. And it was only after that third day of treatment that the symptoms finally stopped. For good, this time, it seemed.
Wow. That's persistent. So once she was really, truly recovered, did she get the full story from her dad?
Yes. Once things were calm, she asked him again, "Okay, Dad, what exactly happened to me?"
And what did Luangpur, the monk, say it was?
Her father relayed the monk's diagnosis from that first temple visit. Luangpur believed she'd been affected by something called Kong.
Kong? What is that, according to the source?
It's described as basically a form of black magic, or like harmful spiritual energy. The idea is that someone who practices dark arts released or projected this energy.
Okay.
And Luangpur's theory was that Kunmi was just incredibly unlucky, wrong place, wrong time. She just happened to walk into it, essentially, and got hit by this Kong.
And did the monk connect that to anything specific she saw?
Yes. The account suggests Luangpur thought that white mass, the ball of light she and P. Duan saw shooting out from behind the tree, that was likely the Kong actually entering her body.
Ah, okay. So that light wasn't just a random sighting, it was the impact.
That seems to be the interpretation, yeah. So for Kunmi, hearing this gave her a way to understand that first terrifying night. It wasn't personal, just really, really bad luck. Sway, as they say. Encountering something harmful released by someone else.
Her first experience with the Kong Kautura, Kong entering the body?
Exactly. But then, things got personal.
Right. Because disturbingly quickly, just 2 months later, October of the same year,
Yeah.
another incident.
Yeah, very fast. And this one felt completely different, targeted.
What happened?
Well, in those 2 months, she started dating someone new. A foreigner. Her parents hadn't met him yet.
Okay.
So she decides to introduce him, invites him over for dinner at their place, and she specifically asked him, "Hey, can you bring some oranges?" She just had a craving for oranges.
Oranges. Seems innocent enough.
Totally. So the boyfriend comes over, brings a big bag, like 3 kilograms of oranges. They have dinner. Kunmi doesn't eat much of the actual meal, though. But then come the oranges. She tries the first slice, and according to her account, they were just incredible. Yeah. Unbelievably fragrant, super sweet. Just the best oranges she'd ever tasted.
Really good oranges.
Too good, maybe. Because she became utterly obsessed with eating them. She describes just sitting there, eating orange after orange, almost the entire 3 kilos by herself.
3 kilos by herself?
Pretty much. Barely talking to anyone, didn't offer them around.
Yeah.
Just consumed by eating these oranges. It was really strange behavior, even she realized it later, and her parents were shocked watching her.
That is bizarre behavior. Okay, so what happened after the orange binge?
After the boyfriend leaves, she's just talking with her parents, and then it happens again.
No, the shaking, the crying.
Yes, the exact same symptoms from the first incident return. Uncontrollable shaking and crying. Her parents knew immediately what was happening.
Oh, poor woman. So back to Luangpur at the temple again.
Actually, no. This time her father did something different, based on a suggestion from one of the workers, apparently.
What did he do?
Instead of the temple, he decided to take her immediately to see a mortham.
A mortham? What's that?
It translates roughly to a traditional healer, or, maybe more accurately, a sorcerer. Someone known specifically for dealing with strange spiritual problems, negative energies, that kind of thing. Black magic countermeasures.
Okay, a specialist. Was this mortham nearby?
Not at all. This healer's place was almost 100 kilometers away.
Wow, quite a drive, especially if she's in that state.
It sounds like it was a terrible journey. She apparently cried uncontrollably the entire way, completely unaware of her surroundings, just like that first trip to the temple.
Just awful. What happened when they finally got there?
As soon as they arrived, the mortham got to work. Performed some kind of ritual intended to expel whatever negative thing was affecting her.
And did it work quickly this time?
It seems so. After this ritual, she regained consciousness, became lucid again, aware.
Okay, good. And what did the mortham say?
This is maybe the most startling part. The very first thing the healer said to her, looking right at her, was, "Did the oranges you ate taste good?"
Whoa! Straight to the oranges.
Yeah, and then he followed up with, "They put Kong in them."
In the oranges.
That's what he said. Kanmi was stunned. Her first thought was disbelief. Like, how? They must have just been bought from a roadside stall.
Right. How could someone put Kong in oranges? But did the Mortham offer proof?
He did. He pointed to these bowls right in front of her, and they were filled with this dark, mucus-like vomit.
Oh, wow.
The healer basically indicated that is the negative stuff that just came out of you. Seeing that, well, that apparently convinced her.
I can imagine. That's pretty graphic evidence. Did he say anything else?
Yes. He dropped another bombshell. He told them there were ashes from 7 cemeteries. Kitao, 7 pachas sprinkled around their house.
Cemetery ashes sprinkled around their house. Why?
As part of the attack, presumably. He told her father he needed to deal with that as soon as they got home.
Okay, this is getting really dark. Did the Mortham identify who was doing this? Who put the Kong in the oranges and the ashes at the house?
He didn't name names directly, but he gave a very strong indication. He told Kunmi she had to tell her boyfriend they could only be friends, not a couple.
Why?
Because, according to the Mortham, the ancestral spirits, Pipupira, on his side, the boyfriend's side, were very unhappy with her.
So the implication is the Kong came from the boyfriend's side, maybe his family, using the oranges he brought and the ashes.
That seems to be the very strong implication, yes. It was targeted, linked directly to her relationship with him and his family spirits, or perhaps someone in his family using these methods.
That is chilling. What did the Mortham give them to fight this?
He gave her countermeasures, more holy water, Nam Mon, to drink and to bathe with, and he also gave her something called a Khammak.
Khammak. What's that?
The source explains it's this mixture often has betel nut, lime paste, tobacco, stuff that a spiritual practitioner chews and then blesses. It's considered an ancient, really potent object.
Potent how?
Believed to be powerful protection against black magic, Kunsai Mondam, and negative spiritual forces, often associated with highly respected monks. Having one is apparently quite rare and valuable.
Okay, so holy water in this powerful Khammak object. Anything else?
Yes, one more crucial thing. Before they left, the Mortham gave her father very specific, detailed instructions for a ritual he had to perform before Kunmi could even enter the house again.
A ritual for the house. Because of the ashes.
Exactly. It suggested the house itself had been compromised by this negative energy.
Okay, so they have their instructions, the holy water, the Khammak. They make the long drive back home.
Right. They arrive late, around midnight, and her father follows the Mortham's instructions to the letter. He stops the car outside the house, leaves Kunmi and her mother inside.
And he performs the ritual.
Yes. He takes the holy water the Mortham gave him and performs this specific ritual, walking around the perimeter of the house. The account mentions only the father knows the exact steps he was told to do.
Interesting. Kept it secret.
Seems so. After he finishes the ritual outside, he gets back in the car, and only then does he drive into the house compound.
Okay, house cleansed, presumably. What about the Khammak?
That night, before she went to sleep, her father took the Khammak and placed it under her pillow. She mentioned specifically she didn't find it scary or weird, just accepted it.
And how does she sleep that night anymore? Weirdness.
It was strange but different. She said despite the air conditioning being on, she felt incredibly hot all night long.
God.
And she kept being woken up by a sound. The distinct sound of a woman crying somewhere in her room.
A crying woman. That's unsettling. Was it related to the Khammak, maybe? Or the cleansing?
The source doesn't explicitly say, but it adds another layer of strangeness to that night after the Mortham's intervention.
Definitely. So what happened the next day? Did she talk to the boyfriend?
First thing, she went straight to him and followed the Mortham's instruction precisely. We can only be friends.
How did he take it?
According to the account, he accepted it really easily. No big drama. And she says she hasn't seen him since.
Huh. Accepted it easily. That's interesting in itself.
It is.
Yeah.
But even after that, Kunmi still had this nagging question. Were those ashes really there? Did someone really put Kung at their house?
Understandable doubt. Did she ask her father?
She did. She asked him about the ritual he did that night. And he confirmed it. Yes, he found white ashes sprinkled around the front of the house, exactly where the Mortem said they'd be.
Wow. Confirmation.
And he told her more. While he was performing the ritual, specifically when he was planting incense sticks after washing the area with the holy water,
Yeah.
he suddenly smelled this awful foul odor carried on the wind. And at the same time, he felt a distinct push, like something physically shoved him, almost making him fall over.
Whoa, like something resisting the cleansing.
Exactly. It felt like something was actively fighting against his actions. But after he finished planting the incense sticks, the smell and the pushing sensation just stopped.
That's incredible. It totally backs up the Mortam's diagnosis about the targeted Kong, the ashes, and links the father's own experience to these unseen forces.
Absolutely ties it all together.
So when you step back and look at this whole story as told in the source, it's really two distinct incidents, isn't it?
Completely. The first one feels almost random, right? A terrifying brush with what the monk called release Kong, near a place already associated with death and tragedy. Bad luck.
Right. But the second one, that feels deeply personal, a seemingly targeted attack directly linked to her new relationship using everyday things like oranges, plus these ritualistic elements like cemetery ashes. Much more sinister.
And the nature of Kong itself, as it's described here, it's not just bad luck or negative vibes. It's presented as actual spiritual forces, maybe even entities, deliberately sent to affect someone.
Causing real physical symptoms, the uncontrollable crying, the shaking, the altered states, the visions. It's portrayed as a tangible assault.
Which leads to the response turning to traditional beliefs and specific countermeasures. It's fascinating how they went to different specialists almost.
Yeah, first the temple monk, Luang Por, for the initial cleansing and diagnosis of that first, very more general hit.
And then for the targeted attack, they needed the Mortham, the traditional healer or sorcerer, who had the specific knowledge to identify the source, counteract it with things like the holy water and the Khammak, and deal with the corrupted space.
And that Khammak, the source, emphasizes its importance. It's not just a charm, it's seen as this ancient, genuinely powerful tool against black magic, something rare and significant to have.
And you can't overlook the father's role. He wasn't passive. He actively followed the Mortham's instructions, performed that ritual, faced down whatever was resisting him. His actions were presented as crucial to clearing the danger from their home.
It's a really powerful element of the story. And the source makes this point, that even today, with all our technology, these beliefs about Kong, about black magic, they still exist. They're still part of some people's reality.
Yeah, the account mentions the year in the Buddhist era, placing it relatively recently. It shows how these things can touch seemingly ordinary people living normal lives.
And the fear. It comes from multiple places, doesn't it? It's not just seeing something scary like a light or a figure.
No, it's that terrifying loss of control over your own body, that feeling of being invaded.
And the idea of unseen malicious forces actively working against you. Plus, the really disturbing thought that someone you know or connected to someone you know might intentionally target you or your family using supernatural means, that's deeply unsettling.
So this whole account, as presented in the source, it feels almost like a cautionary tale in some ways.
Maybe about being mindful when you travel, especially at night, near potentially charged locations. Or being cautious about things you accept from others, even seemingly innocent gifts.
Or just acknowledging that for some people, this reality of spiritual attack and defense is very, very real. The unsettling idea that something like this could potentially happen.
So we've walked through Kunmi's absolutely terrifying journey as recounted in our source material, from those frightening moments on the roadside
to the truly shocking discovery of what seemed like a targeted Kong attack brought right into our home via oranges and ashes.
And the core insight here from this personal account is this glimpse into a belief system where spiritual attacks, black magic, are perceived as tangible dangers.
Dangers that manifest physically and emotionally, but crucially, dangers that can potentially be countered through specific, traditional spiritual practices, healers, and objects like holy water and Khammak.
It definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it? How understanding these different cultural frameworks for unseen forces kind of challenges our own, maybe more secular perceptions of reality and vulnerability, even in this modern age.
That was our deep dive into the source material you provided.
And remember, if you have sources, articles, research notes, even personal stories like this one that you think warrant a closer look, please do send them our way. We're always interested in exploring the information you share.